Hi, good morning. Hi, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Dion Johnson. I'm strategic ally and master coach to women in senior leadership. My work is all about helping established senior leaders to up their influence so that they are seen, heard, and taken seriously by the people that they work with, the people that they lead, the people that lead them, and so that they can work together with people to make a meaningful, powerful, brilliant, juicy difference in the world or in their sphere of influence. Now, I'm making this video because I've been running a 5-part series called Rethink Influence, and we've been looking at what it means to be a woman in senior leadership, what it means to be a senior leader who is functioning in high-level leadership at such a time as this, a dynamic time when things are changing so very drastically and dramatically. Yeah, that's a word. When things are changing so very fast, and I think the time has come for us as women in senior leadership to really think about what it's going to take for us to be part of shaping this shift and what it means to evolve and to stay relevant as a woman of influence during this time and in the new season that's being ushered in through this dynamic confusion and shifting and shaping. So in part 1, we looked at the idea that your industry needs innovation. We looked at the 8 domains, and we looked at the existing problems that we were all experiencing no matter which domain you work in. We looked at new problems that were emerging as a result of, advance and discovery and just the pushing away of boundaries and the advancement that we're making in every domain of the marketplace. New problems are arising. And we looked at the fact that there were old problems that were newly exposed, not just because of technology and the ease at which we can make things known to the rest of the world at the click of a button, but also the way that things are being exposed by your positioning, that the higher you climb in the organization, the higher you climb in the hierarchy of leadership, the more you get to see things that are invisible to people who are lower down the ranks. So we spoke about the fact that your industry needs innovation. And in part 2, we talked about the fact that you are an answer, that you as a human being, you as an individual, have unique insights, ideas, experiences, gifts and talents that are the very stuff that innovative, creative solutions, the kind of solutions that we really need at a time like this, are made of. So that's really exciting to me, that you are an answer. And we talked a lot about that in part 2. Now, if you haven't seen part 1 or part 2, then I really do suggest that at some point you go back and watch those, because these 5 ideas that I'm presenting to you in this series formulate for me the foundation of all the work that I do with women in senior leadership, women who are women who know that they're not done. Women who know that although that they've arrived at a really great place in the leadership hierarchy, that there's more for them to be, to do, to express, to experience, and to create as a contributing, meaningful, effective leader and woman and change maker. So if that's you, I really do encourage you to get this series in its entirety. Take some time out of your day, maybe early in the morning or maybe later on in the evening or lunchtime or whatever, and just be mulling over the ideas that I'm sharing with you here, and see what happens, see what you come up with, see what new insights and new motivations come up as a result of understanding these really 5, I think, crucial and contemporary ideas about leadership. So today we're on to part 3, and I want to share with you this idea. I'm really excited about this idea, and it is that the feminine has function. The feminine has function, but there is It's important that you're a woman. It's important that you are feminine, female, in the grand scheme of leadership and marketplace advancement. I think feminine is the missing link. And so over the next couple of days, we'll be looking at this idea that feminine has a function. Now, story has it, according to the book of Genesis, in the Bible, that there was a time of darkness. The earth was without form or void. It was chaotic, a bit like now, actually. It was dark, chaotic, and lifeless. And the Bible says that God hovered over this dark, chaotic mass. And out of it, he brought forth this domain, a very special domain called the Garden of Eden. And he populated this domain. He put all kinds of life in it. Life in the air, life on the land, life in the sea. He planted every kind of tree, every kind of herb, every kind of flower, every kind of life form. He created it on this domain. And then when it was all complete and looking fantastic and it was very good, he decided that he would create his masterpiece called mankind. And he gave mankind this domain. He said, here you go, mankind, here you go, Adam. Here's this domain that I'm giving it to you, and I want you to look after it. It's teeming with everything that you need. It's teeming with life, and you are the ultimate leader of this domain. And I want you to take care of this land, and I want this land to take care of you. You look after it, it will look after you, and you can live in perfect harmony with it. Take care of this domain. And Adam received it, and he was going about his business, taking care of the domain, and everything was great. But more and more, the Bible describes that God was seeing that something was not right. Something was not okay. It's like I imagine him going like this, I don't know, this isn't complete. This isn't complete. And so he said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself my mass creation. And then he created woman. So you know the story, and you don't have to be a Christian and a Bible-believing lover like me to see that there's something that we can gain from this story. And this story is suggesting that woman came as a result of the domain and its leadership needing an addition, something else, a new quality that wasn't present when man was leading by himself, when the masculine was alone. And the question that I really want to bring up today, as I discuss the idea that feminine has a function, is, does it have a function? Does the difference that woman made in the Garden of Eden, the thing that was so off? I mean, I often question in prayer and meditation, what was it that God saw that was so off without feminine, that was so missing and lacking without the woman in place, without Eve? What was it? I think that this feminine does still have a function. I know that it's highly controversial. And last year I was invited to go and speak to a cohort of women who were training in a business school to become board ready. They were training to take up executive and non-executive board positions. Some were going to be chairs, some were going to be just members of boards, but they were all training to up their leadership. They were already senior leadership. They were already senior leaders in their own right, but they were training to take up their position and be effective as board members, and some of them board leaders. And we had this discussion as part of my session with them, and it was a really heated discussion. You know, that the consensus was that it wasn't a positive thing to be celebrating that you're a female at that level. That it was something that, you know, that wasn't shouted about. Or what we wanted to be, what the women were saying was that they want to be seen as equal, the same as men, not different because they're women, not set apart or distinct because they're women. And one woman said to me that it's as far as she said to me, I do acknowledge that there's a difference, but if I showed up with my true feminine, in my true feminine womanly way, these people would eat me for breakfast. So I get to see, and I've heard it in so many different ways, so expressed through so many different mouths and so many different leaders, that there is this reluctance to, one, accept that there is a feminine difference, and two, to accept its relevance in today's grand scheme of things. So what do you think? Do you think that there's a difference between masculine and feminine? I don't really want to get involved in the discussion about whether there's a difference between man and woman today, but can you at least open your mind as you consider this idea that feminine as a function, to consider that there is a difference between the masculine and the feminine? And I think that the feminine is threefold. Let me get my notes up here. I don't want to miss anything. I really want to embrace the difference between masculine and feminine. And although there are some arguments that there is no difference between, we all do manifest. So men and women can be masculine and feminine. And I do go with that line of thinking. I do know it's to be true. But here's what else I know. That the feminine, that women are stewards of the feminine. That the feminine we are wired for the feminine, even though we can be masculine. But it's our default, it's our natural nature to be feminine. And the man, although he can be feminine, is built to steward the masculine. And there's just so much in that. I mean, I've been studying this for a while. It's really fascinating. But I think it's important to embrace that the masculine and feminine are different. And that, yes, we accept that men and women can be masculine and feminine, but that women are essentially made for femininity and men are essentially built for masculinity. And I think that's important. And I think it's important for a lot of reasons, because we don't really understand. We haven't spent enough time, in my estimation, enough time thinking about what the feminine is. There's confusion about it. Like recently, we've just had a story, I think it was last week, two heads of state, Theresa Stay and Nicola Sturgeon, the head of state in Scotland and the head of state in the UK, met to discuss the happenings and the going forwards of Brexit. And a newspaper commented about, I think the headline read something like, forget Brexit, what about Lexit? Who won Lexit? And they were commenting on the lady's legs. Two heads of state, really important time in history for the UK and the global economy and marketplace. And here we are picking out the fact that these were women, and what we needed to comment on was their legs. Oh my goodness, it was a very controversial headline. But what it highlighted to me was just how confused we are about what women represent in the marketplace, what the feminine represents in the marketplace. And so often we get it so confused with body parts and body function and fashion sense and demeanor. We talk about whether she's got a feminine poise or, feminine posture, or what she's wearing today. But you know what? None of that really, really matters in the marketplace grand scheme of the marketplace things. That's not what's important about being a woman. That's not what's important about being feminine. And so I see it even in my own life. When I was thinking about this, I was thinking about my growth as a woman, and I got the remembrance of a scene of me at about 10 years old, looking into the mirror in my bathroom and examining my facial flaws and coming up to the conclusion in myself, loud in myself, that I wasn't really going to be able to be a proper woman because of the way that I looked. When I remembered that as I was preparing this, it really took my breath away, because I was contrasting it with where I am right now at 50 years old and where I was at 10. At 10, I saw that a woman was about being beautiful and pleasing to the eye of a man, and And that was what it meant to be woman. That's what it meant to be feminine. And I reflected on how that's changed, and how now my conviction is that it's so much more than my body parts, my face, my looks, my dress, my shade of lipstick. It's so much more than our fashion sense. Being a woman, being feminine, has a function that I think is critical in today's marketplace. So I think that the feminine is threefold, and I'm going to share with you today what I think the three really important attributes of feminine are, and why I think they're so important to the marketplace grand scheme of things. So the first thing is that feminine is about bringing and nurturing life. Bringing and nurturing life. Think about that. Bringing and nurturing life. So we understand it in terms of women having babies, but you know what? I don't think that's the only way that we can bring life. I think we're built as women, and the feminine definitely has a function in bringing life to dead situations or dark situations or dying situations. That the feminine is a bit like the difference between building a house and building a home. So the way I see building a house and building a home is a really brilliant picture of the interplay between masculine and feminine. So to build a house, you need rules, goals, timelines. You need logical, straight lines, linear thinking, goals, boundaries. You need bulldozers, you need bricks, and all those hard and fast, straight, hard-hitting, core, directive-driven things, right? That's what you need to build a house. It's a very masculine process. Timelines and goal lines and straight lines and bricks. You know what I mean, right? That's what's involved in building a house. But imagine if you want to build a home. Imagine if you want to build a home. You can't build it with the same kind of straight goal, linear, logical methods. You have to build a home with other things, other qualities, other energy. And that is things like connection, love, heart, compassion, warmth, gentleness, kindness, connection, relationship. You see, these are the things that build a home. And they're very different in terms of the things that build a house. And I think it's really important to understand that an important aspect of feminine is that it brings life, it brings quality rather than quantity, it brings experience rather than action. You know, it's about the quality of something rather than the quantity. Yeah, so that's what I think the feminine is firstly about. It's about bringing new life. It's about bringing new life to anything. The second thing that I think is really important about the feminine is that it connects with what I call unseen illogical data. So here's the thing. I think it's all about the way that we process what's going on out here. The way that we see what's going on out here is processed through a different set of, it's a different mechanism to the masculine. The masculine is very straightforward, A to Z, very direct, whereas the feminine is more flowy and it's more considerate, it's more deeply felt, it's more connected to the unseen realm, connected to the spirit, connected to love, connected to heart. We see with our heart. Feminine sees with heart. Feminine sees with spirit. Feminine sees with love. And this capacity of feminine to see unseen illogical data in new ways is really exciting to me. It's the way, some people call it intuition, feminine intuition, woman's intuition. It's a very deep and powerful force that comes up with ideas and solutions and certainty about things that aren't logically certain. We can know things that aren't logically knowable. And I think that's a really powerful part of being a woman, being feminine. And it's not that men can't be it. It's just that we are stewards of this amazing power that is distinctly feminine and has a major function at such a time as this. And the third thing about being feminine, about the feminine, I think, is that it makes things better. It's the art. Feminine is about the art of making things better. So it's not so the masculine. If the masculine is about more, harder, faster, bigger, deeper, wider, further, right? If the masculine is about that drive, the feminine is about making the journey more comfortable. It's about making the journey better for everyone. It's about looking at the consequences. It's about deep consideration of the consequences that are not seen yet, and paying attention to that, making provision for that, making the journey more comfortable, better. That's what I think the feminine is about. Those three things are really powerful. And I don't think that they're fluffy at all. I don't think that they're irrelevant or weak or second-rate qualities to the masculine. It's just that they've become that way in our marketplace. I don't think that they're meaningless or inconsequential. I just think it's that the masculine is the more understood way. We understand how the masculine goal lineage functions in the marketplace. We're not so sure where love fits in. We're not so sure where spiritual connection fits in, or deep relationship fits in. We're not sure where those feminine traits fit in the marketplace. But I'm here today to suggest that they do fit in. They'd never be more crucial than right now, and that they're essential to keep the darkness and the death and the dying and the chaos in check. In check. And so my question to you today is to consider what you think the feminine means. What do you think it means to be feminine? And what do you think the place of the feminine is in senior leadership? And even go as far as to asking yourself, how do you express feminine in senior leadership right where you are right now? I'm excited about this aspect, this idea in the 5 ideas. I think it's as important as any of the other ideas. I really want you to give it some time. I really want you to contact me. Tell me what you think. Write in the chat of this thread what your ideas. Do you think there's a difference between masculine and feminine? Do you accept that difference? And how does it manifest in you? What does it mean to be a woman? That's an interesting question. I'm going to leave it right there for today. I can't wait to hear from you. Can't wait to build on this going forward in part 4, where we'll be looking at idea number 4. See you later. Bye-bye.